Kirsty, the Russian atrocities exposed in Bucha and the Kramatorsk train station attack have redoubled pressure on Europe, in particular its dominant economy, Germany, to boycott Russian energy imports. The EU's top diplomat, Josep Borrell, said today that nothing is off the table, although there clearly also remains resistance. First, let's remind ourselves of the scale of those imports. It's estimated that despite the Western sanctions imposed since the invasion began, some €1 billion a day are now flowing to the Kremlin regime as European payments for oil, gas and coal, adding up to more than €35 billion since the war began. Here's European imports of Russian gas via Ukrainian pipelines. And as you can see, it's not fallen since the 24th of February invasion commenced. Indeed, despite all the rhetoric from European politicians about getting off Russian energy, imports have actually gone up. It's the same story on imports via the Nord Stream pipeline. Dr. Andrei Ilyanov, a former economic advisor to Vladimir Putin, now in opposition, has told the BBC that cutting off these flows from the Kremlin could be decisive in ending the war.
Just right now, I would bet that probably within months or two, a Russian military operation in Ukraine probably will be ceased.
But is that realistic? Analysts caution it's difficult to point to a specific time frame because we don't know enough about the Russian military supply chain. Yet, given energy exports account for 40% of all Russian tax revenue, it seems hard to believe there will be no impact on Putin's war machine. And analysts are confident an energy boycott would do considerably more damage to the Russian economy than the sanctions imposed so far. The World Bank today estimated that the Russian economy will contract by 11.2% this year. Yet the Institute for International Finance estimates that a full Western embargo on Russian energy would triple that damage, taking Russian GDP down by 30%. It's credible to argue such a drop in economic activity would impose much more domestic pressure on Putin and constrict his ability to finance his invasion.
Some in Europe, come out with this straw man argument that embargo would not for sure end the war tomorrow. But it's enough if we alter the probabilities of the war ending by a few months sooner. I think that's enough of a motivation to act.
What, though, of the economic impact on Europe's economy, in particular Germany? Well, that's disputed. Just over a third of Germany's primary energy input comes from Russia. But estimates of the domestic economic impact of an energy embargo range from a trivial hit to German GDP of 0.2% to damage of perhaps up to 6%. That would be comparable to the slump in activity at the onset of the COVID pandemic. Let's be clear, in a worst-case scenario, you're facing a cost of more than €2,000 per citizen. And, incidentally, spillovers to UK households as the global market price of energy imports would inevitably spike. At the higher end, that would certainly be extremely painful, although still not perhaps the catastrophe some in the German government have suggested, with millions of jobs destroyed and an irreversible hollowing out of German industry. Moreover, recent history shows governments can use their balance sheets to cushion households and businesses from big shocks if necessary.
We also know how to do this because we have gone through the 2008 crisis and we've learned our lessons, but crucially, we've also learned our lessons through the Corona crisis, where we had to switch off a huge part of the economy. In that particular time, it was the services sector. And we did that very successfully in Europe.
In the end, what this conflict is reminding the world is that a nation's economic prosperity is founded on a base of its national security. What European leaders are being forced to grapple with now is whether the time has come to bear some potentially significant near-term economic pain for the sake of our future security and prosperity.